Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another Video Creators Podcast episode. And this is a special one. I am so excited to introduce you guys to some friends of mine that I've been hanging out with over the past 8 weeks or so. And a little thing we do called Video Labs. These creators join this thing. We spent a lot of time together. It's online course, and every week we're getting the calls, talking about their channels, working through their roadblocks, and giving them the training they need to really put together a really solid strategy for growing their YouTube channel, reaching more viewers, more subscribers, and generating more revenue with their channels. So I am really excited to introduce you to them, because one of the things I love most about this Video Labs process is that it's not just about like, oh, you walk away with a strategy that works for another 3 weeks and then you're back to square one. Like I want to give these people like a framework of how to think about YouTube so that they can continue to evolve and grow with the platform as it changes. And I am looking forward to hearing how they answer your questions now. My goal is that they're now all YouTube experts and they will be able to handle anything you throw at them. So if you're in the live stream right now, please post your questions. We're going to get to those here a little bit later. If you're in the podcast audience, the podience, as I affectionately call you guys, you can't interact, but we will. We'd love to have you join us for one of these recordings at youtube.com/video creators. We usually do them every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So love to have you. So you guys in the chat, ask your questions. And while you guys are asking your questions, I just asked the people here, ask like, hey, I just asked them, what is like the main number one like piece of advice that you want to give to YouTube creators that you feel like will make the biggest impact on their growth, that will generate, whatever they're trying to generate, whether it be views, subscribers, revenue, growth, like what do you have to give them that you've learned has been really helpful and effective for you? And so I asked them, and we got a couple of them here. It's going to be a fun time getting to know each of them. If any of them have suggestions or ideas or talk about their channel that you are like really interested in learning more, you'll find links to all of their channels down in the description of this live stream. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening to the podcast later, you can find links to all their channels in the show notes, and just tap on their link, go subscribe to their channels and learn more about what they're doing and follow along with their journey now as they go forward and continue to grow their channels. So let's start with you, Dave, Mr. Aggressive Fun. Tell us about what you do on your channel and what your piece of advice is for us as creators.
My channel is all about taking great ideas and turning them into awesome products. So there's lots of electronics, there's lots of development, there's lots of things that help people to put those ideas into products, whether you want to have enough knowledge to go to somebody else and have them help you with that, or whether you want to do it yourself, even the nitty-gritty of learning how to solder, learning how to do printed circuit boards, sensors, all those kinds of things that you would put into a product that you want to do that's somehow associated with electronics. And my tip is, as I started this whole process with Tim, I learned right off the bat in reading the first chapter of his ebook that my target audience was very broad. He describes there where you need to figure out what your target audience is, narrow it down, and then do it 3 more times. And when I first read that, I thought, oh, Tim, you're a jerk. I hate you. I'm going to lose all my subscribers. Everybody's going to go away. I'm not going to be able to build the channel. But as I read on in that chapter and then later in the book, I realized, Tim, you're a genius. I love you, because that's exactly, or at least one of the things I was doing wrong, where I was very broad with my videos, covered a lot of topics. Some of them did very well when people would come and find them through a search on YouTube, but it wasn't helping with my subscriber base. And it was mainly because they'd get what they wanted and then they would leave. Whereas with me finding ideas and turning them into products, people can come and then see a lot of other videos that can help them as they go down that path.
Yeah, that's great. So I think a lot of people, I'd be interested to hear from anyone else here, like when you start narrowing your audience, it starts to feel like you're getting a little restricted. Like, no, but anyone could like this. This could be for that person or that person. And we talk about how it's important to make it specific so that you make that viewer feel like, oh, this is for me. This is exactly what I need. What was some of your other experiences of you guys who are listening? You'll get to know all of these people, but just asking them to kind of shout out right now. What was your experience with that?
Well, are you asking
Diane.
Dave or all of us?
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
So my channel is for working moms which seemed pretty niche to me, but it's really, once I realized it, more specifically about those stressed out working moms who are kind of perfectionists and feel like they have to do everything perfectly. So that was a niche down for me, as opposed to just any working mom, like all the ones out there who are just kind of calm and have it all together and don't worry about everything.
Yeah. I feel like it gives your content more focus too. Like instead of just being like, oh, I could talk about this or the other thing, it helps you really focus in on like, oh, this is exactly what I need to create for this specific person. Cool. Thank you, Dave. Let's go to Mike, the horror geek. Tell us about your channel, what you do on YouTube.
Hey guys, I'm Mike Bracken, aka the Horror Geek, and I run a channel where we do a series called Sick Flicks, where I take a deep dive into the cinematic sewer to help you find the most gory and disgusting movies ever made, which is a great value proposition for normal people because they totally want to see this stuff. But I happen to love these kind of movies, and I have a small audience of people who also love these movies. And we just like to take them and break them down and make a lot of stupid puns and jokes and things like that. So it's pretty exciting. And as far as my tip for you guys, it's pretty simple. But it's one that really stuck out to me when we did the 8 weeks. It's everybody focuses on the algorithm. If you go on YouTube and look up like how to get more views, how to get more subscribers, all this stuff, invariably everybody's like, oh, you got to figure out how to work the algorithm. You got to figure out how to work the keywords. You got to figure out, how to manipulate the system. And there's, a grain of truth to that. The algorithm is important, but the most important thing you need to do is focus on making content that's good, that people connect with. Because if people connect with your content, then you get the subscribers, you get more views, and then the algorithm will help you out. But if you're trying to focus just on the algorithm and your content is maybe not as good as it could be or not focused enough yet, you're kind of putting the cart in front of the horse a little bit. So I would definitely suggest you make that your focus. Make content that people want to watch. Don't worry about machines, SEO so much.
Mike, what did that shift look like for you on your channel when you before coming to Video Labs? Were you focused primarily on like keyword research and search volume and competition and things like that? And that was informing what your strategy would look like and what content you would make going forward?
100%.
Okay. So what is it like now? Like what was your approach like?
So when I came into this, I come from a marketing background. So everything in the blog world is keywords, SEO, that type of thing. And there's certainly some value into trying to pick topics that have a little bit of research, keyword power when you're small. But ideally, it's just so much better when you just pick the stuff that you can really make a good video about and then put that video out there and find your audience that way and just trust that your audience is going to find you. And during the course of this, I'm still a very small creator. I'm not monetized yet or anything, but I've only been doing this for a couple months. But during the course of this 8 weeks, I over doubled my subscriber base. I've doubled my views. My watch time has gone up. Still need to work on the thumbnails, but other than that, everything's working pretty well.
That's great. Yeah. One of the things I usually ask people and they tell me like, yeah, I got the right keywords in the right spots and I did all that. And I'm like, oh, great. Like, how's that going for you? Actually, it's not. Like, that's kind of all I have to say to make that point. And we put a lot of energy into trying to hack a system and a robot rather than just optimizing for people. That always performs a lot better because that's what the algorithms are designed to do, is to surface the content that people respond well to. So
it's super sobering to kind of look at your watch time when you break it down in the analytics and see how much less average view duration you get from a search result than you get from like a suggested or a browse or a homepage appearance, stuff like that. So that was like the biggest eye opener for me, that I was totally coming at this the wrong way.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, man. If you guys want to check out Mike's channel, it's linked up down below. You picked up one subscriber already, Mike. Carlton Way 1 said, I just subscribed to the Horror Geek. I love horror films. So
thank you.
It's you already on a roll.
On a roll.
With butter. That's a dad joke. I have kids. I can say that. Story time for kids. Melissa, hi. Tell us about your channel.
Hello, everyone. So I have a channel creating read alouds for kids, kind of focusing on the age group of 6 to 10. And I pair those with fun fairy tale backgrounds and drop down clip art. And my biggest takeaway from this class, and I am not a math person, so let me just preface that, is to understand the analytics because that's really the feedback we get, particularly, you know, when you're smaller and you're not having a filled up comment, you know, feedback conversation necessarily. Your analytics, if you will learn what they mean and what they're telling you, it's all the feedback you need to see how you're doing and then what you need to change going forward in your videos.
What are some of the biggest things that you've learned that you need to change based on what you've seen in your data?
My first big one is I dropped my call to action for subscribe that I had at the beginning of my videos. You know, I was asking before I added value, which we talked about in class. And the second one was I added a hook for children with a question to get them thinking at the very beginning, you know, to draw them into the story. And that up that 30-second drop off issue that so many new creators have. You'll learn when you study your analytics as we figure out how to craft videos that work for YouTube as a platform. Yeah.
So I think if I remember correctly, the rest of you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember in our private online community, Melissa, you posted that you took the subscribe out from the beginning based on your audience retention graphs. And then everyone else looked, and everyone else who was also asking for the subscribe up front was also seeing a pretty significant drop. And I don't think there was any exception, was there?
I think it's pretty true across the board.
Yeah, I think it was like everyone was like, oh, thank you so much for pointing that out. Like I just asking for people to subscribe up front, because if I didn't, then they would leave and not hear the call to action. And we're like, well, it looks like asking them up front is actually causing them to leave. So, and everyone, I think,
somebody for a date when you haven't even talked to them for 5 minutes.
Yeah. You're like, hi, I'm Melissa, subscribe now. No, she didn't talk like that, but that's essentially what it might feel like to a lot of us. That's great. Cool. You guys are in the chat. Keep asking your questions. I'm collecting them here. You guys got some good ones. We're going to dive into in a second, and I'm really looking forward to this group answering them for you. So that'll be fun. How about Gary, the water guy? Hey, Gary, tell us about your channel, what you do on YouTube.
Well, I simplify water filtration so families can make some great decisions for their families. And in terms of my tip is not to wait. I mean, don't wait for a better camera. Don't wait for better lighting, microphone. Just get an iPhone or whatever you've got, get a window with some great light, keep it simple and keep it honest. I mean, you have to be respectful of your audience and their time, but get to the point, deliver your message. One of my most viewed videos of all time was my very first one 8 years ago, where it was just a very simple message, just me talking. It wasn't asking for subscribers. It wasn't asking, buy this, buy that, whatever. But it still keeps bringing in subscribers to this day. And I still get great comments on, wow, what a great message. And I really appreciate it. I mean, the video quality is awful. The audio is awful also. And there's no real call to action, but it just keeps bringing in subscribers.
What do you think is one of the main qualities of that piece of content that is making it perform so well now? Because a lot of people focus on the production value and the technical stuff. And you're saying, I didn't really get the technical stuff or the production value right in that video, but it's still performing well. Do you have an idea of what it might be about that video?
Oh, absolutely. It's just me talking straight from the heart, sharing some information that I honestly feel that everyone should know. And it's just just simple, straightforward stuff, just information.
Right. So
no ads.
You're echoing what Mike says, like, hey, focus on the viewer, like just serve them really well. And they're very forgiving of shaky hand cam and maybe a little bit of pixelation, as long as they get the message that they want. That's what's important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. If you guys, like, one thing I didn't really think about too much, guys, before meeting Gary, the water guy, is like, water filtration stuff. Like if you're drinking, that's a big deal. You probably want to know what you're putting in your body. A lot of people focus a lot on like the food side, but the beverage side is just as important. So guys, check out his channel's linked up down there below. How about Diane, working mom warrior? Sounds super violent.
Because we feel like we're facing battle every day. I'm Diane Boca. My channel's Working Mom Warrior. I'm actually interviewing all different moms to present stories that will help the moms who are watching reduce their stress and feel calmer, because they'll relate to successes and failures that other people talk about, and then learn from the hacks that the people that I'm interviewing share about what's helping them to cope with all the stress and the sense of being overwhelmed when you've got so much going on. So the tip that I learned when I started the class, I barely looked at the analytics. And when I did, I just freaked out and said, I don't know what any of this means. And I know Melissa touched on the analytics as well, but what I really learned was what to focus on, because to me, there was so much there and it all looked great to me that I didn't know which of the analytics were important. And Tim really explained to focus on a couple, especially in the beginning, and know what those mean and then how you can react to them. So the ones that I take a look at now, and I actually know where they are, how to find them and how to read them, the impressions and the click-through. And the reason that I look at that is because I know if my title and thumbnail are working or not within like the first day of the video going up. And you can adjust those things. I always thought, no, you're not supposed to touch anything. You can adjust those things if the impressions and click-through aren't where you want them to be, and see if that makes a difference. And then the other one that I learned to pay attention to was the audience retention graph, which Melissa was talking to, but I didn't even know about how to play it and view it and how to really see what it means and to learn about what you can do with that drop off. So I learned that my intros were too long, cut those down, make the hook shorter so people weren't dropping off near the beginning.
Diane, have you found that when you go back and update the titles and the thumbnails based on the real-time data and things, like, hey, this should be doing better, let me try something else. Do you find that like just becomes like a stressful game that you end up playing, or is that like actually make you feel more empowered and more like, oh, I like, it's not just a hopeless cause because that video I published it, like I can still help? Like, how does that make you feel when you do that?
I don't do it with all of them. I just don't have the time to go and like really overanalyze. That was one of the reasons I was ignoring the analytics. I'm like, I barely have time to keep up with my posting schedule. Is this really important? Probably not. My channel's small. So you convinced me that, yeah, it is important. If you want your channel to get bigger, you at least have to pay attention. So I just focus on a few things, and I really just look at the ones that are really low performing. I mean, I'm not getting a lot of views right now anyways, but I can tell a difference, you know, even, you know, one might get double the views of another one. And so I know right in the beginning, if this one's not where the other ones have been, I should probably take a look at those. And I was treating the thumbnails and the titles as just a throwaway thing to do right at the end. Like, okay, I'm done. I got 5 minutes. Let's just put this up. And so I am trying to take a little more time. And even if I have to do that a day later, because I'm rushing to go pick up the kids and I don't have time, I'm just going to throw some thumbnail up. So at least I hit my posting schedule. But the next day I can go, yeah, I've got an extra half hour today. I can spend a little more time on that. Or maybe that one, oh, that one worked, so I don't have to. So I don't stress about it because I feel like I'm not doing it for every single video, but just the ones that I'm like, okay, this really is bad and could be better. There, you know, it's just, if people would have the right idea, then more people would see it. And that's the whole point of doing this.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for sharing that. That's great. How about an odd couple that live in an RV and travel around with their cute kid and go on lots of explorations and adventures, get into fights in the the RV lot? That's one of their top videos. That's why I said that. I'm just kidding. They're a great couple. Tell us about what you guys do on YouTube.
Hey everybody, we're John and Mercedes of the RV Odd Couple.
Long story short, we sold most of our possessions to RV full-time in pursuit of freedom, independence, and adventure.
Because life is so short, guys.
And our biggest tip has to do with engagement. And I think it's one of the things that has made our channel stand out in a very competitive niche, the RV niche. You know, we engage with our audience. And, you know, the way we see it, when somebody views your video, they're giving you their most important asset, their time, right? It's limited. We don't know when it'll end. And when they engage, when they leave a comment, when they tell you what they think, what they like, even what they didn't like, they're giving you feedback for free and giving you even more of their time. So for us, that's been one of the keys to our channel growth, is really focusing on engagement, connecting with people, because this is the people platform. This is not a computer platform.
Yeah, and if you can't handle a small audience, you don't deserve a big audience.
Yeah, so just really serving them. We don't they don't owe us anything. We owe them because they've given us a platform.
Yeah, and we credit this for most of the growth that we've had. We're known for our engagement. And sometimes we spend 30 or 40 hours a week, both of us
Yeah.
together, getting engagement done. But we credit that for the growth of our channel. We know our people, and those people know us.
You got some people in the chat sticking up for you. Diary of a Family is like, hey, Tim, it's not so odd. You've been traveling full time for over a year. You got some fans there. What does it look like for you when you guys say you spend 30, 40 hours a week on engagement? Like, what actually practically are you doing? Are you just replying to YouTube comments, or are you engaging in other people's videos, or what are you doing? What does that look like?
We're responding to the RV Odd Squad, who are our followers. And so we've come to know just about thousands of them.
Yeah.
I believe we're approaching 50,000 comments on YouTube alone.
Yeah.
And so we respond back. We have a great relationship. It's always fun in this community to bump into people that you've been, talking to for months on the road and you've never met face to face. It's amazing when you sit around a campfire with somebody like that.
Yeah, we don't spend too much time engaging in other people's videos and comments, because I think that you have to respect other people's comments, and not, sometimes people try to say like, look at my video on someone else's comments, and that's just not kind of, what I mean?
Good.
But we, between emails and between our comments and other social media, it really occupies so much time, and we're still behind on some of it. But it's one of the things I think that sets us apart and that emboldens our audience. Like, they have our backs.
Yeah, and they know that we're going to read their comments and that we care.
Yeah.
Well, this might be a weird question, but for the odd couple, which is like, what do you feel like you have to believe in order to drive you to do that? Because most people are just kind of like, just give me attention. I want more and more. Not most people. That's a little bit unfair. But like, there's a lot of people on YouTube who just like want the attention, and they're not so much interested in giving attention back. What is it that you guys believe that makes that important to you guys?
Well, we fundamentally believe to get in life, it's about giving more than you receive. Everything with everything. And that if we give as much as we possibly can, and we believe we're never going to be given so much that we can't keep up with it, that it's our responsibility to respond, and that, we're always looking for places that we can give more and give more and give more. And we know that the back end of that just takes care of itself.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of like what we see on social media in general, is like the people who end up winning, not all the time, but a lot of the times they are people who are listening more than they're shouting. Like a lot of people just shouting, posting, look at me, I did this cool thing. And some people, in extreme examples, are even living their lives just for the sake of how many likes they'll get on something, or how many views this thing will bring in, or whatever. So to be on the other end of the spectrum, be like, we're actually listening more than we're shouting. I can see why people on a human level, back to Mike's point and other people we've talked about here, like it's that human connection is what people really want. And when they feel that, it's like you're way more likely to grow and people that appreciate that. So
yeah, and
I know you're not doing it for that. You're not doing it to take advantage of them. You're just like genuinely coming out of your heart. But one of the things, the byproducts of that is that people are attracted to those type of people.
Exactly. And we think that it's one of the biggest mistakes new YouTubers make, is they think it's about them, and it's not, because honestly, people don't really care. They're in it for themselves. And so they're going to be looking for content that's going to help them. They don't really care about you or your life. And so if you focus on delivering content that people are looking for, and narrow down your niche, Google does all the heavy lifting. It's going to put that content in front of, who it needs to be put in front of. And then all you need to do is just serve them, just serve, and the rest takes care of itself.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, guys. Nona and Wendy, they're on the same channel together. But I'll let you go first, Nona. Tell us about your channel and what you do there.
Hi, I'm Nona Snowden with Nona Snowden Cooks. We provide our viewers with unique and delicious recipes with a heavy heaping of mildly inappropriate humor. We are not your average cooking channel, and I am most assuredly not Martha Stewart. We offer one more thing, and that's the opportunity for our viewers to help support the fight against breast cancer, as we are affiliated with a breast cancer nonprofit called Jump for the Rose. You can find us at jumpfortherose.org or noticenodencooks.com.
Great. Tell us about your tip is for YouTube creators.
Oh, my tip is, it made Aunt Winky's life a lot easier also, to write an outline when you go to start your cooking. Because when I'm in the kitchen, I'm like, put some of that in, it tastes good. But if I write a nice little outline, it makes life easier, and it's easier for our viewers to follow.
Yeah. How about you, Wendy? Since you're on the same channel with her, what would be your tip for creators that you guys have learned?
So yeah, I'm gonna follow on with what Nona said. One of the things we learned from this channel is to communicate the story. So before she does the cooking, we decide what the theme is. Then she does her outline, and then I can construct the thumbnail. And when I edit it, I don't edit out that theme. Along those lines, I've learned that time doesn't particularly matter. Initially, I was cutting out some of her humor to keep it short and concise and make it move. But as I learned about her story and what she was trying to convey, and I focused less on time and more on content, I was able to convey that story better in the editing. And we have really improved on the content. I'd also like to reiterate what Gary, the water guy, said about don't wait for the perfect ideal situations and equipment, because Nona and I both individually and as a team have learned so much through our failures and our bad ones that it has definitely enabled us to go into this class and have better focus on where we need to go. So it just all works together, and the story is very important, and building the story around the editing is very important, and that's what I offer.
That's great. Thank you, guys. Let's jump into some questions. Now, this is where the people who went through Video Labs here, this is kind of their test, guys. So those of you who are in the chat, ask them some good, hard questions, and we'll get through as many of them here as we can. So we're not going to camp out on any of them too long because we want to get through a bunch of them, but we'll take maybe a minute or two for each of these. Starting with the Amazing Drone Show. Says, OMG, you guys are telling me everything I did wrong so far. So glad this is helpful for you. I hope your drone show takes off, and that's why we're doing this, to help you guys learn from some of the mistakes that we've made and some of the things that we've learned that actually really working well, and hopefully helping you be able to implement them on your channel so you can grow and not experience some of the same frustrations that we did while we were making some of these mistakes. Vince Salviano ask 5 to 7 questions for an intro is optimal ? You guys are thinking about your intro. I'm not sure if you're talking about a branded intro or if he's talking about the opening hook, which we kind of look at differently. We look at the opening hook as like how you're going to capture someone's attention after they clicked on the title and thumbnail, and then the intro is the like the branding that you show. But let's talk about both of them. Let's just talk about the hook first. How long do you guys, any principles that you would recommend for someone with the opening hook?
15 seconds, short
No
and sweet,
more.
no more. Never go over 15 seconds for us. And then, I mean, in your program, Tim, you say to keep it under 10 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, take the best meat of your content and just load it in the front end to keep them from going away. You've got to get that question mark in their brain quickly.
And then the animated intro, no more than 3 seconds, because people don't care. So
They don't care.
really quick to the point.
Yep.
We got rid of our
Yeah, mine has
intro.
been the shorter the better.
We got rid of our intro because the drop off was so high and really changed it. So now it's 4 or 5 seconds of just food shots with a quick logo, welcome to Nona Snowden Cooks, and that's it. So we no longer really have a branded intro, nothing that shows us per se.
Mm-hmm.
I found that my branded intro, which is about 3 seconds, didn't cause any drop off. I was having my hooks be longer than 15, but even at 10 to 15, I'm not losing people like I was, because I feel like shorter than 10, if you have a story to tell, you want to, 5 seconds might be too short for a hook, because you at least want to get people an idea of the story, and you don't want to be so generic that it just sounds like every other thing out there.
And to add to that, I would say, look at your analytics. You know, what works for a cooking show may be different from an RV show. And this is where you can go and see. And it also might be how you're doing the hook. So I wouldn't always zero in on time. I would play with and test what you're doing and how, and then go to your analytics for feedback.
I've always had a steep drop off at the very beginning, so I'm shortening mine up. That the 3, 4, 5 seconds at the very max.
Yep. How about the branded intro? He followed up in chat and said that he's talking about just the branded intro. So how long should that be? And what should it do? What should it accomplish? Should it just be like, hey, look, guys, I have a logo that can do a fancy flip. Yay. Is that all it is?
It should promote your value proposition in some way. And I think ideally like 3 seconds max. Mine is still too long, so I've taken it out and played around with it. But definitely, I would not recommend more than 3 seconds. You see the drop off happen and quick after that.
We've had some videos with our longer branded intro when we first started that have done well, and some newer ones with a shorter, more focused branded intro that drop off almost immediately. So I really think some of it's about the content if the audience wants it. But I would try to find the standard middle ground between it. Like I said, we've dropped our intro.
Yeah, I found it works best if it pitches your value proposition to someone in your target audience. That's the point. It's not to be like, look, I got a logo. And so 3 to 5 seconds is about ideal. So hope that helps, Vince. This is like, I don't know how, I'm curious to hear how you guys are going to answer this next question because we didn't really talk about it. So I want to know if you've learned how to think or not here about it. So best-selling author, writing coach, Lisa Daly. That's a great way to title your channel. That's literally the name of the channel. Best-selling author, writing coach, Lisa Daly. Ask, how important is your category when posting? For example, in the how-to category, the science category, the text category.
So we used to do how-to, and in the last 2 videos, we've dropped it off and our click-through rate has gone up. What we've learned is that the click-through rate is very, very important. And the way that you draw in attention for us as a cooking show was not the how-to, which is pretty much what everybody else done. It was to add a little bit of Nona's humor in it and to make it a little more reflective of our niche, which is humor and, you know, delicious, unique recipes. And so it's the intrigue that is bringing people in, not the how-to. So I think it depends on what your channel is actually about. I think the category and the branding need to reflect in the words and the thumbnail what you're selling, what the value is, more than the specific how-to or science and tech or things of that nature.
I got a different impression because I had this question when I started the class. I had a question about a lot of things when I started that I kind of realized I didn't need to worry about so much. And I kind of got the impression from Tim, I thought you kind of answered it, maybe not directly, that it really doesn't matter that much what you pick. It matters that you're consistent for people. So, because I feel like there's a lot of channels that could go several different ways. They could go as like people blogging, or they could, like you just said, your channel can go in a couple different categories. So I haven't found that it made any difference in changing it. And I've kind of heard that it's not something to really worry about.
Anyone else? Love it. That's 100% accurate. Yeah, like don't worry about it. It doesn't really make a difference. Way back, the history of those categories for anyone who cares is that way back in the day, and I mean like 2008, 2009, like that era, there was a lot less content on YouTube. And so YouTube had different categories where you could just sit down and browse all the travel and events videos recently, or all the blogs recently. And all the creators who may put a video in that category would be there, as well as like ones that are like the top videos in that category, kind of like a trending for different categories. But as YouTube grew, those categories became less and less significant. And now I don't think they have like any bearing on anything whatsoever. I mean, I'm sure they have some sort of little thing behind the scenes, but this is when we start getting into the weeds of like, I can do like 90% more work to get like 2% more results. So we don't focus on it. So it's great. Proud of you guys. Good job. Right alongside asks, anything I can do to grow my channel if I have inability to consistently upload content? I need to take breaks for greater than 1 month at a time. Thanks. How would you guys answer that?
Yeah, you can batch make them, like make a bunch of movie videos in a batch. I do that all the time. Write the scripts up ahead of time, and then I knock out 5 or 6 on a Sunday morning or whatever time's convenient for you. Get them edited throughout the week, and then post them. Schedule them to post whenever it makes sense. If it's weekly or twice a week, and you're good to go.
Yes, what Gary said, that's exactly what Nona and I did when I was out of the loop for about 7 days. I dedicated 2 weeks to getting everything in the social media and online posted and set up, where all we had to do was click a button. And if you can't do that and do week to week, then I would recommend extend your posting to every other week. While you might grow a little bit slower, I have found that a consistent posting is very, very important. We definitely get more views on Wednesday when we post at the same time every day. And if we miss it, it throws everything off.
And I'll follow up on that. I was surprised at how much the time affects the views on the video. If I post too early, I don't get as many views. If I post too late, I don't get as many views. There's a time when people are expecting it, and that's time done when it has to be out there.
I also think if that's going to go away for you in the future, you might want to think about pausing and, not really going to a consistent schedule until you can go maybe once a week or once every other week. Because being a new channel and only going once a month, that's what I originally thought. And once I started learning more, I'm like, it's just going to go so slow to grow. And I actually went from 1 day a week to 2 day a week during the class by doing a second video that didn't take as much time and production, more of a community video that's just, vlogging, and it may not get as many views, but at least it's continuing to have content go out there. So you might find an easier way to just squeeze something in, or you might even put it on hold for a little bit until you can do it more regularly.
Yep. Great. Perfect advice. Maximalist Minibus asks, every time I try to do a value proposition statement or whatever at the start, it feels like an anti-hook. It actually gets in the way of pulling people right in. Is it really necessary to do that? How do you guys respond to that?
Absolutely, because people need to know what makes your channel stand out, because it's not like 2008 when there was only one channel that did something, or maybe 2. Like most areas are kind of saturated. So what makes you stand out? And it's not the stuff, it's not the topics like we RV, it's what the RV or the topic is a vehicle to, what it brings, what the bigger value of it is. So people need to know what makes you stand out. Otherwise, it's a wasted opportunity.
And I would add to that the value proposition is about the value you bring them. It's not like about my mission and my vision and my channel. It's always think of it as, somebody's going to give you 5 minutes out of their life. What are you going to give them in return? And craft the value around that.
And through this course, it was a lot of time emphasized the why. You want to get the why in there as quickly as possible so that people want to hang around. They want to get the value. They want to see your content. And if you answer the why, you'll help people know what you're about, and then they'll gain a lot more from yours.
Couldn't this also be a bit of a structural issue? Like, I kind of think of it as I do a hook, and then if I put the branded intro in, I have a quick hook of what, to get you interested in the video. Then I put the little branded intro in. Then I come in and introduce myself with the value prop, which is sort of what Tim does as well. So if you're trying to cram that all in the front, it will definitely probably put people off. But if you try to break it up a little bit and structure your video a little differently, it probably feels and works better.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between value proposition, which is kind of like what the brand represents overall. We don't start with that. We start about whatever the expectation that was set by the title and the thumbnail. We are affirming for the viewer that, yes, what you clicked expecting to get is coming in this content. So that's like the value prop maybe for the video, which is probably a small sliver of the value that the entire channel or brand as a whole is trying to deliver. So I think there's a difference in my mind between value prop and hook. Cool. Thank you, man. Let's go to the next question. We got a few more here. And Again, The Amazing Drone Show. Any suggestions for growing a channel that relies on fan submissions to make more content? I'm trying to make a reciprocal relationship, but having a hard time getting started.
I have an idea. If you're talking about trying to get comments and then play off of those, I know I've had a hard time getting engagements because the people that I'm targeting are very busy. And so I go out separate from YouTube and just find people, man on the street. So maybe your fan submissions don't necessarily need to come from your comments or even your blog. Just literally take a pad and pencil and go out, and every time you're out, talk to people and just ask them some questions. And then you can say, oh, you know, Jerry so-and-so said this and that. No one's going to really know if that was a submission on your YouTube channel or on your blog or just somebody you were talking to in the grocery store.
Perfect.
I think most people like to help.
Yeah.
You know, and we found that in our engagement early on is that we didn't know how to RV. And so we were constantly asking people to help us learn how to RV.
They'll help.
And they help. Most people really, really want to help. So just ask them for the help in the videos and
feature them.
Feature it. Yeah. Feature and then engage. And actually, if they get one comment, ask them another question, get them to engage even deeper.
I think people want to be a part of something. So if it's like, if it feels like, hey guys, I don't really know what to make on my channel, so send me your videos and I'll just do something with that. I don't think that feels very compelling at all. As opposed to, guys, I'm working on this piece. It's going to be awesome because I really want to do this for you. But to really do this well, I need like some specific clips from you guys. Can you send me clips of you saying this, that, or telling me your experiences or stories? I want to put them all together. Like if it feels like they're sending you content to be a part of something, I feel like that probably works a lot better than just like, just send me content so that I have something to publish. I'm not saying you're doing that. Amazing Drone Show, just maybe might be something else to consider there. Our awesome world asks the question that everybody wants us to ask or answer, and surprisingly, it's not about COPPA this time, although everyone wants to talk about that too. But our awesome world asks, but what about getting YouTube to actually put your content so people can see it? How do you do that?
So I like to talk about that because we're 12 months in, and I really think the first thing it boils down to is click-through rate. Flat out, hands down, the higher click-through rate you have, the more likely you are to get put in front of people. And then after that, I would say retention rate. Every video I've had that has done well has had a 10% or 9.9% to 10% click-through rate. The ones that follow that are somewhere in the 8 to 9%. And delayed gratification plays into that. So I've had the first video took 40 days before it hit. The next video took 87 days. And then, man, you could just see a spike in the analytics. And so that's what I find. At the very beginning, I am now focusing on click-through rate, make sure that they're clicking through, make sure we're getting rid of that 30-second drop-off, which for us was more like a 50-second drop-off. Those are the first two things I focus on right up front, and then I let it sit. And if it's got a good click-through rate, the retention rate will generally be, 35 to 45 to 55% is what I see, and it'll take off on its own. That's what I've observed with our channel.
For those of you guys in the chat who are like, oh, 5% good, or is this percent good? What Wendy is sharing with you are the stats for her channel. And so what she's just indicated is she knows what's good for her channel and what's not good for her channel. She knows like those data for her channel. So instead of saying like, oh, like, okay, that's what Wendy's getting, mine's doing better or worse. It's like, no, you got to do what Wendy just did, which is study your analytics to the point where you know what is average or what is good or not good for your channel, because Wendy is her channel. She's editing for a cooking channel. That is way different than if you're doing gaming or vlogging or kids or whatever, right? So you got to know it for your stuff.
I also learned something about this subject from a more holistic point of view, because it's like a chicken or egg thing. I really thought that first you have to get YouTube to put your video on people's homepages or suggested or whatever, and then you'll get more views. And if they don't do that because of some magic that you don't know, you're never going to get those views. And taking the class and learning from Tim completely flipped that around, you know. And it's the whole idea is your title and your thumbnail has to be good enough to get people interested. And then YouTube knows that, oh, more, that's why she's talking about click-through rate. More people are clicking on that. And then they start putting it in more places, home pages and suggested videos. So one doesn't come before, the one that I thought came first actually comes second. You have to have the content and the video good enough to get the initial people interested. And the more they are, the more YouTube sees that and puts it out more places. But in the beginning, when I didn't know, I was completely flipped around and thought, well, I'm not getting more views because YouTube's not putting it out there. No, YouTube's not putting it out there because whatever I'm doing isn't good enough to get more views.
It's the content. It always comes down to the content.
That's exactly it. Anyone else have any discoverability tips, ideas you want to give? All right. Coco's Tube asks, what if I'm just getting sick of my content?
Well, you're not going to be able to deliver very good content if you're getting sick of it. You need to look for some content that you're not sick of, something you're really passionate about, and because it certainly comes through in your videos.
It sure does, yeah.
That was gonna be what I was gonna say. Do something different then.
Or take a break. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, you're video creators, it'd be interesting to hear. I've taken lots of breaks and no one notices. So sometimes the break is in the format of what we talked about earlier. I'll batch a lot of content up ahead of time, and then I'll take like a month or two off, which is kind of why I'm coming off on that. I actually haven't shot anything new for about 2 months as of right now. And just last week shot a new video that will go up next week. So I'll kind of work through that batch. You take a vacation break that way, figure things out, or just take a break and just kind of like let your creative energy flow somewhere else and rejuvenate by, like for me, it's woodworking or something else. Yeah. Any other ideas?
My problem originally was having too many things that I loved, having it so that then it made the channel very diverse, not focused at all. And that's my comment originally with respect to target audience. I did a lot of stuff that I really liked to do, but none of it was focused on the others and retained the viewers, that sort of thing. But it's kind of nice to be able to then say, okay, I really love this particular set of things. I'm going to focus on those. And then it all came together.
Yeah. Great. Well, if you guys want to find out more about them, links to all their channels are in the show notes, also in the description below this live stream. Go check them out, subscribe, follow on with their story. And if you want to join the next Video Lab session that's happening, it starts in January and registration will open up here in the next few weeks. So there's a link in the show notes or the description where you can click, learn more about Video Labs, but also put yourself on the waiting list to be the first to be notified. It sells out every time I've done this. It's always maxed out and the waiting list is a couple hundred people now. So if you want to be the first to get notified when that goes out, put yourself on the waiting list. I'm going to send out that email to the waiting list probably in the next like 2 or 3 weeks or so to give you guys first dibs on registering for the session that starts in the beginning of January. So more information will come out soon about that. And we'll have several different labs all happening simultaneously, one that'll work for your schedule, because we do meet live every week and it's not just like watch some content, good luck. It's like watch some content, do some exercises, practice some things on your channel, but then come into a call every week and let's talk about it. Let's support each other, hold each other accountable. Let's answer questions, give everyone everything they need to break through those roadblocks and really experience the growth that they want. So I'm looking forward to hopefully working with you guys in the near future. So sign up to get more information. In the meantime, go check these guys out. And thank you all for being a part of Video Labs with me. It's great to get to know every one of you and your channels and the goals you have. And most importantly, to hear like the lives that you're changing, you know, and whether that's like giving people an escape or a break or overcoming issues and roadblocks and motherhood or cooking or travel and freedom or just being healthy with what we drink and everything, guys, like Appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you guys for being a part of it. And the rest of you guys, thanks for hanging out. And I will see you guys again next week for another Video Creators Podcast episode. See you guys then. Bye.
Thanks, Tim.